One, two, one, two, three. I am a guy from a place. Charm City, but Marquise Vandal. Marquise is the name my mommy gave me. I'm here in a moment, and I have opened up the floor for some questions. I want to thank everyone who asked for a topic to be spoke on because I float and sometimes I ramble. But this one is going to be about self-love in some ways that I have looked at the journey in loving yourself. I want to give some tools, and I want to also open this up. So if you have a comment on some ways that you have loved yourself or found some things you found beneficial in your process, please share them because I don't want to be the last voice, right? And if you think some of this don't work, speak on that as well, right? I had to first define what love was. It has been an interesting journey. Everything I do is revolving around loving myself. So a lot of people were asking, like, why'd you change your diet? And like, how do you stick to it? I stick to it because of the love for myself. So like, I don't eat a lot of things that I used to eat because I realized like it didn't fulfill me. So everything I do in some type of way, after a certain point in my life, stemmed around what is fulfilling. What is fulfilling for me? I had an experience in my life where I was in a psych ward. So I speak on that. I don't like to stay there, but that's part of my testimony, right? So I was there at a point in 2016. And after that, there were a lot of things that were impacted by it. I couldn't go back to normal. I had to redefine myself in a lot of ways. So part of that redefinition was looking at the ways I eat, looking at the way I sleep, looking at the way I relate to other people. So I had to be conscious of who's in my circles. I prayed on it, right? I pray. My faith is a part of self-love. So I'm praying for people to be removed from my life if they don't make sense in it. And people start to fall away, and not always in a detrimental way. Like we literally just have space because of our interests. Our interests are changing. So I don't have time to hang out with friends like I used to. And now I want to go to the gym. So I'm in the gym. I'm at the lake with the guys. Like I got new places I want to be at. And the part that got funny was like, I'm inviting people to these spaces. They didn't want to come. I'm not going to stop going to the new spaces I go to because you're uncomfortable with my new movement, right? So I gained new friends in those spaces. And it wasn't a thing of like, oh, I'm brand new or I'm chasing new friends. It was just honest to my present experience. And that's fine in life, giving yourself space to pivot. So these are also concepts of self-love. Self-love, right? What is love? I had to fully study what love was. And I'm still like looking at it in terms of like, how do I show up as this definition for myself? But one of the definitions I love the most is in the book of Corinthians. It is a book in the Bible, and there's a passage. I'm going to read the passage. I got a phone with me, you know. I got that right there, built in private, blessed in public. You know, pray, y'all, pray. Speak to a higher power. Speak to the highest power about what you go through. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. Love remains is essentially what I took away from that. And one day I was talking to a friend, a young lady I've been friends with for years. Like we met in high school, and she always just had a really good energy. And she's still a very wise woman. She has gone through some different things, and we were talking about our desire to be loved, right? And she was speaking on how partners didn't love her, and how she got to a point where she wanted a Corinthians type of love from her partners. That was her expectation, and she was blaming them for not showing up with it. And I challenged her and myself, but she took it very personal. I challenged her and I said, do you give that type of love to yourself before anyone else? Because you can say you can stand on how you give that to your partners. But if you're not giving it to yourself, how well are they going to receive it? And how likely are you to get a partner who is going to be in that space? Relationships are mirrors. We relate, right? We can only relate to someone that understands us, truly. So when we're living in with masks, we're giving somebody a sense of something they relate to. So, I'm this way, and you're not. So this inauthenticity is part of not loving yourself. Authentically being yourself in as many spaces as you can be. That's why I'm grateful for this space. I've done my best to be myself in this space. Be this loud energy, be this wrong energy, be this goofy, corny, whatever energy, because that's who I am. And if I have to change that to be in space with people, I'm denying myself and in turn unfulfilled and not loving myself. Self-denial is a part of not loving ourselves. But that's what a lot of us were raised on. I was raised on self-denial. I was raised on your emotions only matter in certain spaces. Your emotions are only valid as long as they don't make me look away. I don't care how you look if I feel it. I have to honor this feeling until it passes. I got to acknowledge this feeling. Sometimes I don't even have to honor the feeling. I just got to say that this feeling's happening. When people say, oh, you don't feel that. How dare you be sad? How dare I be sad? How dare I be sad if I'm sad? Like, what is this, right? So I asked that of myself. And then I started to reflect. Am I keeping people in my life that dishonor me and say I love myself? If I let people do things to me that I wouldn't do to them? I mean, I'm all about forgiveness, but I'm also about boundaries. I'm also about protecting my garden, protecting my peace. So I'm not going to give my peace away for somebody who wants me to be away, right? I'm not going to give my peace away to show up in a space that doesn't honor me or the people I love. That was the other part. A lot of spaces, they don't honor the people I love. That's why I started this podcast, because there's a lot of people in my city right now who don't honor the people I love. I got people in my family who have been on drugs for years. I've got people in my family who have struggled with some things that nobody takes time to care about. But everybody don't make space for it, right? So the people who don't make space for it can get out of my space, respectfully, right? That's just what I look at. So as I looked at, again, Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind. I had to ask myself, am I patient with myself? Am I kind to myself? How is my self-talk? If I do something that doesn't feel right, am I beating myself up about it for weeks because I'm keeping somebody else's voice going? Sometimes someone will say something crazy to us when we're young, we'll internalize it and we'll just keep that running. Oh, you're stupid because you failed. You failed in high school, so you're stupid. You shouldn't have said that to her. You shouldn't have sent that text. You're thirsty. You're weird. You're creepy. Oh, why do you want that? All of these names, all of these things that become definers if we don't ask who's defining us as that. Why did that define us? And I had to be honest and say, maybe that can just be a moment in the experience. Maybe that can be a moment that is now gone that I can redefine moving forward. I can move in space in a different way moving forward. And I allowed that for myself. I was 210 pounds in 2017. 210 pounds. I ate cheese sticks, pork chops. I ate regular steaks. I ate lots of pastas. I ate 3 meals a day. My mother loves to cook, so I love to eat. That's my joke, right? I did a lot of things that I do not do in this present moment. I loved myself. I accepted myself for who I was. But there were parts where I really didn't love myself. And I had to be honest about that. I was greedy. I was running. I was hiding. I was fearful, right? And I say all of those things that I was to set the stage for I became something that a lot of people said I couldn't be as they looked at the person I was. I became a yoga instructor. I changed my diet. A lot of people were confused. Like, yo, you don't eat this no more? You? Like, yeah, I really don't. I just don't care to. Because I gave myself space to. I gave myself grace. Someone also mentioned habits, and I'm going to speak on that in a separate video. But sometimes we look at our habits as, this is me. And so, no, the habit isn't you. It's just something you've been doing so consistently that you feel comfortable defining yourself as that thing. But it's not you. And if you look at the habit long enough, you can ask yourself, why have I been doing this? what did it start as? And if it may have started as something that wasn't so positive, let's give ourselves grace for why we chose it. It might have made sense in that moment. It might not make sense moving forward. That's why you consider it a bad habit now. But let's just give ourselves some grace. Let's look at it honestly. Let's look at it objectively. Not as something that's defining you, not as something you have to take personal. So yes, love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not envy was interesting. Because I was like, how do I? Well, I thought of it like this. Sometimes I love myself in a way where it would spite others. I don't have to love myself to spite someone else. I love myself because I show up to my job and other people don't show up to their job. I take care of my kids, so I love myself. I graduated high school, so I love myself. I love myself because I went to college and nobody else did, and they didn't go to college like I did. They didn't make the sacrifices. I don't love myself because of my sacrifices. I love myself because of the sacrifices I made, right? But the sacrifices I made weren't to show somebody else up. The sacrifices I made were because I had to sacrifice certain things to be who I wanted to be. Sometimes I hear these things, I'm like, oh, I love myself because I hold it down. You know what I could have been? And it's like you weren't that though. And you aren't that. So loving yourself because somebody else, like making somebody less than to love yourself, being overly proud about it, it's like, hey, ease up. It ain't that deep. Like, love yourself because you love yourself. I'm loving myself no matter what. Like, I don't got no, I love myself because they don't love themselves. Like, I love myself because I gotta love myself. I love myself because I get to love myself. I love myself because I'm allowed to love myself. I love myself because I'm enough and I matter no matter what. I love myself because I don't look like what I've been through. I love myself because of the people who poured into me, because of the people who love me. Like, this isn't about outdoing somebody. And I think that was problematic in my experience as well. At different points, I was trying to outdo somebody. My dreams were contingent on making somebody have to say, oh, I was wrong about him. And that ain't even worth it. Like, I want to succeed because I want to succeed. It don't got nothing to do with spiting somebody else, but a lot of times we can be raised on that as well. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Again, like, am I doing this to myself? Am I mad at myself about things that I don't need to be mad at myself about? Am I mad at others? Am I turning these things outward, right? Because once I turn it outward, again, that's this thing of like, I'm limiting the love I can be. I'm no longer showing up as this thing. So just using this one scripture, this scripture I believe is Corinthians 13, 4 to 9. 4 to 9 or 4 to 8. But love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. And even back to no record of wrongs, like this tit for tat. Oh, they did this to me. They did that to me. It's like, I got to give people grace. There's a lot of people who did things to me. I wish them love. I wish them light. I wish them joy. I got people who dirtied me, man. Like, when I tell a story, they'll be like, oh, that really did happen to me. They really did that. But I look at it as they were responding to a moment and they were trying to do something to make themselves feel better. What I'm so blessed to experience is to not have guilt. I sleep well at night. I've done some things, right? I haven't been perfect. I've been a part of groups of people who just weren't the best people all the time, right? I've been present. I've turned a blind eye. I've done things that make me feel a little guilty at times. And I'm like, nah, I don't really like guilt. Because as I look at the full story, I mean, essentially what life is, it all writes itself. It rewrites itself. It writes itself and it gets back to its point of neutral. And some people live in that so long that they don't move on. But I choose to move forward with love. I choose to move forward with love. And the blessing too is like, if there's anybody who could ever feel away, I just keep moving in a way where it's like I allow other people opportunities to be lifted, and I have space for people who want to hold me accountable. Like, I did talk crazy to somebody this year. I ain't gonna lie, I talk crazy to a couple people. It just is what it is. But it's a consensual conversation as well. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. It speaks for itself, right? Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. And those are speaking to prior passages, verses about wisdom. Even the thing about prophecies, there's a lot of false prophets right now. In what it is. That's not for me to handle all the way, but it is for all of us to have discernment in who we are listening to. I do not make these podcasts to tell you I know it all. I do not live perfectly by the word, but I don't believe anybody does. And if you've met that person, shout them out. So, like I said, this is just something that you can take for yourself, gain your own understanding around it. You may not even ascribe to the biblical sense of love. You might want to look at something else, right? Because it has a lot of other passages that make you feel uncomfortable. This book has been weaponized to belittle the experience of people who have different preferences sexually, people who have different races. Like, it doesn't speak to every race. It doesn't speak well about women in some instances at all, and a lot of instances, right? So if this is not something you want to look at, fine. But I do want to leave you with just that concept of looking at what love is, defining love in a genuine sense, deciding to take the love you expect from others and give that to yourself first. So a good friend of mine said, date yourself. That's a concept that is important. Date yourself, figure out what you like, because even as you date yourself, you will stumble across people who are doing things similar to what you do, because that's what people do. Like, I like to play pool. So if I'm in the pool hall, I'm gonna come across a woman that just like that space. Sometimes the women are there because they with a guy with money. That's a whole nother bag. But I might run into a shorty that love to play pool. Let's chop it up. Where you from? How you doing? Like, all of those things, right? Yeah, let's even get back to dating, because it's all in one, right? All these topics gonna touch each other. But yeah, like, I get outside. Maybe I like to bowl. I like to rip it up. You know what I'm saying? I like to bowl. Go out bowling. Might run into something. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta be in space. And that's the thing. Like, be in spaces you want to be in. Don't go to space because you heard it's a hot new spot. Like, that's an easy way to get in a situation you don't want to be in. It's a hot new spot. I guess she makes sense. That is not it. We're not doing it in 2024. It's a hot new spot. I guess she makes sense is just a recipe for maybe they the one, but more than likely it don't align because you weren't even aligned when you met them. When you are in alignment, you will come across people that are in alignment. When you are not in alignment, you will come across people that are not in alignment. And more than likely, people who are not in alignment are going to do things that don't make sense for your spirit or their own. Like, that's the bigger part. When you love yourself, you attract people who love themselves, and they can be in your space in a more true way. People who don't love themselves fall away naturally. And you really got to do some work to love on people who don't love themselves. So you'll even notice that. But yes, self-love. Self-love. Always start with that question. Do I give this to myself? When I'm asking about why they don't show up for me, do I show up for myself? Do I show up for myself in the moments that count, right? Am I going to do healthy things for my body, right? I'm taking care of my body. Am I feeding my mind, right? Am I consuming content and media that is helping me, right? Because media literacy, we talk about that a lot right now. Are we literate in what we're consuming? Because we might stumble across a post that says 5 black men are evil. And it's like, what? Like, and then you find more information about the story, but that first headline is stuck in your head. 5 black men are evil. And that's just be where you are for the next 3 weeks. And it's like, no. So we got to be conscious. So we consuming, are we following pages that are not productive, pages that are not giving us that good food? Because it's, as a lot of people say, food for thought, what we intake, right, is what we put back out. So I can say be blessed, be loved, love life, be kind, because I read and I listen to people who speak good words. And sometimes I don't do that, right? I have a little junk food from time to time. I think gossip is hilarious. I grew up on it. I grew up in a hair salon. But all in all, self-love is a beautiful journey. It starts with some authenticity. It starts with some honesty. It starts with some self-acceptance for all that you are, removing some of the denial from space, no longer denying some of the things that have happened in your experience, owning them in a way that is truthful. Maybe you gotta go to do some therapy, because therapy, some talk therapy, is talk it out with somebody that's a professional. It could be some healers. You can go to some yoga classes. You could do some energy work. They have Reiki. I know some brothers who are in those spaces. I know some sisters that are in those spaces, right? But a lot of these blockages we have in figuring out what it looks like to love ourselves oftentimes have started from some point where we were silenced, or a point where somebody gave us a false definition of love, and we've lived by that. I love you because I provide, right? I love myself because I go to work every day. Well, maybe the love you need isn't revolving around provision. Maybe the love you need is revolving around quality time. Maybe the love you need is revolved around service. So you're in a space where it's like, oh, I provide, but like you need acts of service. And you're in a job or a space where nobody's giving you acts of service. They're not giving you physical touch, right? Everybody's in their own space. Nobody does handshakes in the morning. Like those types of things are very important. So again, it's all in one. I had the video about capacity. My capacity means I gotta have some type of physical connection with individuals. I love community. That's what I grew up on, right? So I know myself enough to give that to myself. And that's self-love. Self-love is knowing yourself. That awareness is all one. But yeah, if I could list them out, I might write that up. You know, I got the blog space. I got the charmcitybipper.com. I got new interviews out. I did one with Wes Thatch. I did one with brother Born Rebel. Rel is a dope designer. West is a fitness instructor and a very motivational individual, very inspirational, always pouring light. When I speak to him, I'm grateful for the brother. And shout out to Sparkle. Sparkle, I put that interview out last week. Had a really impactful conversation and just a lot of needed conversation, right? This, as I said, is a space for me to reflect some of my journey and just give people insight to how they can approach their own. So, yes. One day made better, as many days made greater. I'm uplifting you to be in a world that cares. If I keep it to myself, I think that's unfair. The joys we're given are best when shared. Visionaries never die. Legends survive. The seeds we sow daily, we get better with time. Wishing peace, prosperity, and many blessings. We are built in private, blessed in public. Whether they like it or love it, the process is trusted. We are abundant. Peace.